Will Wednesday's third and final U.S. presidential debate turn into a no-holds-barred affair? A controversial agreement in the DRC pushes elections back to April of 2018. And Castle Dracula opens its doors for Halloween. Do you have what it takes to spend the night? Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. The race for the White House has had many twists and turns this election season, all leading up to Wednesday's third and final presidential debate in Las Vegas, Nevada. Republican Donald Trump continues to trail Democrat Hillary Clinton in the polls, and the debate may be his final opportunity to change the trajectory of the race. Here's VOA's national correspondent, Jim Malone.
The final debate looms as crucial for Donald Trump, who trails Hillary Clinton by an average of 6 percentage points in recent national polls. Trump continues to warn supporters they are fighting the Clinton political machine and a biased news media.
This is a rigged system, folks, but we're not going to let it happen.
Even some Republicans have rejected Trump's claim. Trump has also lashed out at allegations from numerous women who have accused him of making improper sexual advances in the past.
These are lies being pushed by the media and the Clinton campaign to try and keep their grip on our country. They are all false. They're totally invented, fiction, all 100% totally and completely fabricated.
Clinton has been immersed in debate prep in recent days. Despite continuing controversy over her emails, she's tried to keep her campaign focused on the issues.
Number one, we've got to get the economy working for everyone, not just those at the top. And we can do this.
Clinton is getting help on the campaign trail from President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama, who noted Trump's vulgar comments about women in a recently released videotape.
This was a powerful individual speaking freely and openly about sexually predatory behavior.
Trump has slipped in some polls in the wake of the salacious video and the allegations from several women, says analyst Tom DeFrank.
This is not the behavior that's going to endear him to college-educated white women. That's who he needs.
Trump and Clinton likely have different approaches to the final debate, says Republican strategist John Feary.
I think Hillary is going to play it safe because I think she believes she has the lead. I think Trump is going to go for broke because he believes that he's got to make ground and really kind of attack her.
In the final weeks of the campaign, both candidates will focus on a handful of so-called swing states where the election outcome will be decided. Jim Malone, VOA News, Washington.
Well, in Africa, the political parties participating in the national dialogue in the Democratic Republic of Congo have adopted an agreement which delays elections by nearly 2 years until April 2018. The deal also establishes a power-sharing government to rule the country in the interim. But the main opposition coalition is rejecting the agreement. Emily Eob reports from Kinshasa.
After a month and a half of discussion, the 300 delegates adopted an agreement aimed at ending months of political crisis in the DRC. The Electoral Commission has said it is nowhere near ready to hold polls as scheduled in November.
Nous avons la tenue effective des élections. C'est le 29 avril 2018.
Will there be a political change at the end of this transition period? The answer is yes. Will we write a new constitution or modify the current one during this transition period? The answer is no.
Un référendum ou modifier la constitution, disons non.
The country's main opposition coalition boycotted the talks and has accused President Joseph Kabila of seeking to unlawfully extend his 15-year rule on the vast Central African nation. Violent protests 1 month ago in the capital left at least 56 people dead and several political headquarters torched. The new agreement allows Kabila to stay in power until the next presidential poll, but he will be joined by a member of the opposition in the post of prime minister.
Dans la lecture de l'accord,
When you read the agreement, you will see that each party has made a lot of concessions in a bid to go to free, fair, and peaceful elections accepted by everyone.
The Secretary General of the Presidential Party added that the agreement is open to all political parties, even those who didn't take part in the dialogue. That would be the majority of the opposition, known as the Rassemblement or the Assembly. They are demanding a more inclusive forum.
That dialogue is not a constituent assembly. It's not a parliament. Who gave them the power to take resolutions which go against the Constitution?
The Rassemblement has called for a general strike on Wednesday. They say Kabila must step down at the end of his mandate on December 19th. Emily Yob for VOA News in Kinshasa.
Burundian President Pierre Nkurunziza has signed a bill into law Tuesday, withdrawing from the International Criminal Court. This news follows the country's parliamentary vote last week to leave the ICC. Now, the court says the decision poses a setback in the fight against impunity. The withdrawal makes Burundi the nation to leave the ICC, or rather the first nation to leave the ICC. Now, the head of the ICC's governing body, Sidiki Kaba, was concerned that Burundi's departure would undermine efforts towards the objective of universality. He had called on Burundi to engage in a dialogue. The ICC, which opened in July 2002, is the first legal body with permanent international jurisdiction to prosecute genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. But several African countries have expressed concern that its focus has been more on Africa than anywhere else in the world. Now, in May 2015, Burundi President Pierre Nkurunziza closed down all of the nation's independent radio stations. He blamed them for enabling people trying to overthrow his government. More than 100 reporters fled the country, fearing arrest or worse. Iloje Willy Kaneza, one of the few that stayed and became the only public face and the critical local link for the online news network popularly known as SOS Media Burundi. Kaneza is the recipient of the 2016 Peter Merkler Award for Courageous and Ethical Journalism. He's also a reporter for VOA Kirundi, and he's here with me to talk more, tell us more about this honor. Welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you so much.
Yes. First, we have to really recognize your courage. What made you want to stay in Bujumbura when everybody else was getting out?
As a journalist, I thought to myself, this is the only way to serve my country. Burundi gave so much to me. I went to public schools. Now, as a journalist, what could I do else to help my country? Because at that time, when independent media were closed and bombed, at that time, people were spreading a lot of rumors. And as you know, rumors can kill. And as a journalist, I just had this idea with my friends, and I said, what can we do for our country so that we may prevent the people from consuming rumors and spreading them?
Now, did you do anything very special to make sure you're not being accused of giving a platform to, the opposition or to people who are bent on overthrowing the government? Did you just say whatever you thought the people wanted to hear?
Yeah, till now, we are reporting balanced information because, we give we all of those protagonists in the Burundian conflicts, we do seek their opinions. When opposition leaders say this, we always seek the opinion of the government side or the ruling party side. And when the ruling party side is, for example, like these contestations against ICC that the government organized 2 weeks ago. So we had also to hear from opposition leaders what they think about this. So we are trying our best to give balanced information.
Now, what does this award mean to you now that, you've been recognized this way?
When I knew it, because I didn't know that I was the recipient, but they do it secretly. They ask many people, even my boss from VOA, they were asked, but I didn't know. When they announced that I'm the recipient, First, I was surprised. Second, I felt so much honored and considered. And what it means? This means that what is going on in my country, Burundi, even though it's a small country, a poor country, the world is watching. Mm-hmm. The world is really interested in what is going on in my nation.
And we hope there will be peace, and we wish you well and safety. Thank you very much, Enoja.
You're welcome.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that Enoja Willie Kaneza is the 2016 Peter Makori Award winner for courageous and ethical journalism. Well, the United Nations Special Envoy to Yemen has announced a 72-hour ceasefire to begin Wednesday night after he received commitment from all of the country's warring factions. Ismail Ould Sheikh Ahmed says he had been in contact with the lead negotiator for the rebel Houthi militia, which controls Sana'a, as well as President Abdi Rabu Mansour Hadi's government, which operates from the southern city of Aden. Mahdi's announcement follows the firing of missiles at the American destroyer USS Mason in the Red Sea on Saturday, which analysts say came from Houthi-controlled territory. The rebels have denied the attacks. Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Coming up, understanding how health literacy helps you stay healthy. Stay with us.
With the U.S. presidential campaign in its final weeks, the last of 3 debates between the main candidates for U.S. president is October 20th at 0100 UTC. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have different views of the world. VOA will present their final debate live in your language. Then, hear reaction from immigrant voters in the U.S. in a VOA special, The World is Watching.
They went out there to try and get...
Really upset me and upset my family.
You can also take part online at voanews.com/debates and on Twitter at #VOA Debates. Watch the final debate and then weigh in, beginning at 0100 UTC October 20th, here on VOA.
Well, it's time now for our health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Madu with some new information on health literacy. Hello, Lino.
Hello, Vincent. Health literacy is defined as the capacity to obtain, interpret, and understand basic health information and services, and the competence to use such information and services to enhance health. According to a U.S. National Assessment of Adult Literacy Review from 2003, only 12% of adults in America have a proficient level of health literacy. The issue is a major challenge in many countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Low levels of health literacy means many people in America, Africa, and around the world have difficulty completing basic health tasks, such as following instructions on how to take a prescription medication. They are also less likely to seek out preventive services like some vaccinations and are more likely to be in poor health. Joining us in the studio to examine the challenge of health literacy in Africa is Erwin Boateng, President of Quality Health Africa, an organization with the mission to strengthen Africa's health system by building sustainable medical facilities. Erwin, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back.
So let's talk about how we can understand health literacy. Does basic literacy automatically means that one has a good or at least a fair health literacy?
Well, there is a direct correlation between basic literacy and health literacy, but basic literacy alone is not enough to ensure proper health literacy.
So what does it take?
So it takes proper education on health matters for one to be able to know what is needed for them to make sure they're healthy.
So what type of information do people need to know?
So I think when it comes to health literacy, the information people need to know is going up for annual or quarterly checks. You know, the ability to read prescription and follow instruction prescribed by the pharmacist. That's one of the biggest problems that we see. People die from not knowing that they're overdosing on medication.
So according to the report, it is an issue in the United States, especially with the elderly and the poor. What is the situation when it comes to sub-Saharan Africa?
So when it comes to sub-Saharan Africa, health literacy is a big issue because majority of the medication that has been provided in those countries are not even in English, so they're not able to read it. And then the nurses and pharmacists themselves also lack quality and skills to be able to prescribe the right medication. There was a case of a 6-month-old who died last week in Ghana because the nurses gave the wrong prescription to the baby.
So who is responsible for increasing health literacy when we look at the situation in Africa specifically?
I think it's a joint effort. Government plays a significant role. But local community leaders also play a good role. The government is responsible for training and making sure we produce skilled healthcare workers. And then it's up to the individuals to also educate themselves to be able to know what kind of medication and practices will increase their life.
And you spoke about some of the instructions that are in English. In a Francophone country, it will be in French.
Correct.
So language is definitely an issue.
Language is a big issue, but I believe if there's a Francophone country, they shouldn't have medication in Arabic. One of my experiences, I went to a pharmacy in Ghana, and it was not even in French. It was actually in Arabic, so I couldn't even read the letters, and the pharmacies were providing that. So that's a big problem with the kinds of medication that are coming into the country.
What about the impact of culture and religion? How do they affect health literacy?
Cultural considerations is also a big factor because there are certain people that have beliefs that they can't take medications because of their beliefs, and that could lead to several deaths. There are several traditions or cultures in Ghana that actually do that. So educating them sometimes helps, just expanding their knowledge on the fact that the medication does not interfere with their religion, but rather prolong their life. They're very receptive of that.
So quickly, where do we start addressing this issue? With basic education, would you say?
Yes, with basic education and basic health education.
Okay.
There's a difference between basic education and basic health education. So we need to have a lot of health fairs and seminars that talk about health literacy and how to promote health literacy.
And you're having such event coming up this week very
Yes,
quickly.
we have the summit coming up in Congress on Thursday, October 20th at the Rayburn House.
Okay, great. Well, good luck with the event, and thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
And that was Erwin Boateng, President of Quality Health Africa. That's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter @LenorMoudou. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, Lenore, thank you very much. And I'll be sure to watch Lenore Moudou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. And it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. Are you brave enough to experience the ultimate Halloween destination? We'll be right back.
The plane's passed pre-flight checks. It gets
Merci encore.
M80, ça
et le développement dont l'examen garde.
Welcome back. Now, each year, 15 million girls worldwide are married before the age of 18. The United Nations says of the 10 countries with the highest rates of child marriage, 9 are in Africa. Niger has the highest prevalence of child marriage in the world, with 43% of girls married before their 18th birthday. Experts call this practice a silent health and human rights issue fueled by poverty, gender inequality, lack of education, and insecurity. 2 years ago, the African Union launched a campaign to end child marriage in Africa. The initiative aims to encourage governments across the continent to develop policies that address child marriage. Now, the issue of child marriage will be front and center at this year's Girls Summit being held this week right here in Washington, D.C. The event brings together policy experts, advocates, and U.S. government officials. Here to tell us more is Helena Minchu, a program officer for U.S. policy at the International Women's Health Coalition. Helena, welcome to Africa 54.
Thanks so much for having me.
Now, the theme, of course, very, very appropriately is keeping our promises to adolescent girls. Now, beyond just, the child marriage, tell us what this summit hopes to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Girls Summit was initially put forward by the UK government in 2014, and since that, where there were millions of dollars committed to end child marriage and female genital mutilation, there's been a tremendous amount of work towards ensuring that girls are empowered, educated, and free from human rights abuses like child marriage. This year at Girls Summit DC, we hope to work on that and talk about, are we actually turning rhetoric into action, or are we just saying the same words over and over again?
Now, the conversation did not just begin. We know that across the world, across the continent of Africa, this has been going on. Why does it persist, and particularly in African countries?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, child marriage is a human rights violation. It's something that is an epidemic amongst adolescent girls, 15 million girls a year married. And what we really see is that there's a number of factors that perpetuate and exacerbate child marriage, like poverty, insecurity. In Africa, a lot of times parents tie girls' sexual purity and virginity to the family honor. But what it all boils down to is that we have a vast amount of gender inequality across the world and also in Africa. So when parents are overwhelmed by those factors like poverty, the social norms around honor, they tend to see only one avenue forward for their daughters, which is child marriage. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that girls aren't valued, they're not educated, they're not invested in, and then they don't have any alternatives other than marriage.
And it's not fair.
It's not fair.
Now, do you see a kind of a very, one powerful solution to this, very quickly?
Unfortunately, there's no silver bullet. I would love to tell you that there was, because that would make it so much easier and we could all put child marriage behind us. But it's a complicated issue with complicated drivers, and we need to have complicated solutions, which are comprehensive in nature, that tackle the root cause of gender inequality, that make sure that families see girls as valuable in their lives, and make sure that girls themselves see that they can be the ones who drive their lives forward and make sure that they're owning their own destinies.
Yes. Now, your work mostly focuses on U.S. policy, right?
Yes.
What has been the U.S. government policy towards stamping out child marriage, as far as you know?
So we've seen in this administration, the Obama administration, I think one of the most powerful ways to see adolescent girls that we've ever seen, and we've seen more work out of them than previous administrations. And what I mean by seeing girls in a certain way is that instead of looking at girls as piecemeal, that we need to tackle education over here and health over there, they see girls as holistic beings that have rights, and they have dreams, and they have futures that they should determine for themselves. And that shift has been really huge, because it allows President Obama to go to Kenya and Ethiopia last year and say, without caveats, that child marriage is wrong and that we need to educate girls. And it allows the U.S. administration to come forward with things like the U.S. Global Strategy to Empower Adolescent Girls, which was launched earlier this year and presents really a comprehensive view of how we can tackle not only child marriage, but also gender inequality and the things that keep girls out of school and keep them from thriving.
Thank you, and we just hope this continues. We love our girls. They're beautiful, they're powerful. Thank you very much, Helena. We do appreciate your insights. And now, Helena Minchu is a program officer for U.S. policy at the International Women's Health Coalition.
You're with Africa 54. I'm Haiti Adams-Fitzpatrick. Let's take a look at what is trending. Opulent, lavish, extravagant. These are just some of the ways to describe South Asian weddings. Now, they usually require about as much planning as a Broadway show. At the National Asian Wedding Show in London, exhibits featured every possible service available to you for the big day, from turban tying and fashion to catering and design. It's a lucrative market, as you can see. A typical British Asian wedding hosts several hundred guests and costs an average of $60,000. One breakout trend involves catering. Modern weddings have moved away from a sit-down meal of traditional food from the subcontinent and now incorporate Lebanese, East Asian and other cuisines. No garlic or garlic-scented items allowed, including perfume. Those are just some of the house rules at Count Dracula's castle in the Carpathians to avoid warding off the vampire. This Halloween, 2 people will be allowed to sleep in velvet-trimmed coffins in the Count's crypt and will spend the rest of the night in the castle completely alone. The creepy vacation is courtesy of Airbnb. The vacation rental site launched a contest online to find the guests. The castle was never part of Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, although it said Romania's notorious 15th century ruler Vlad the Impaler might have set foot there briefly. For the record, Vlad was bloodthirsty, but he was not a vampire, so as not to confuse anyone. And finally, telecommuting is still relatively rare in Japan, where many employers want workers physically present in the office. Now, beauty company Shiseido is trying to help Japan change its work ethic and make it more convenient for women to telecommute. Its new cosmetic technology called Telebeauty. The app scans your face, then adjusts the color of the image to match the tone of your skin. It can also blur out pores and blemishes and even apply rouge and lipstick, leaving you teleconference ready. Telebeauty is currently being tested with 100 female employees at Microsoft's Japan offices as a Skype for Business app. If it's a success, the app may be rolled out commercially next year. And that is what's trending today. Vincent, back to you.
Well, thanks a lot, Haiti. Now, that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, African News Tonight at 1800 UTC. And in the mornings today, Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us in Washington, have a good night.
Welcome to the Voice of America's News Words.
Does this word mean something good has happened?
Unleashed. The president is sending Secretary of State John Kerry to the Middle East to help build a coalition to defeat the militants who have unleashed a wave of violence that has included attacks on Iraq's Christians and other minority communities, and recently the videotaped killing of American journalist James Foley.
Unleashed means to let something very powerful happen quickly.
It is like taking a leash off a dog and letting it attack someone. In our story, the militants unleashed or set off a wave of violence.
Usually, unleashed does not mean something good.
So, the next time you hear the word unleashed, you will know what this news word means.